Part 3.
Let her just lay down. She wants to sit under the couch, under the.
I see.
Sadie wants a guest appearance.
Becoming a father obviously changed my life forever. Each birth was special and amazing in their own way. I met Catherine at Huntington Beach when we both worked for Alta Consultants. I was working 2 jobs and attending UC Irvine. When we discovered Catherine was pregnant, we decided to move back to San Diego and found a nice apartment in an area named Birdland because the street names were like Meadowlark Drive and Nightingale Way. Big Al is our next door neighbor with a young son Jeremiah and baby daughter Corinne. Dan and Cindy Succina lived across the courtyard with a young son Nick. It was a great place to raise a young family. Kayla was born in a natural birth delivery room at the hospital. I was able to witness the delivery and cut the umbilical cord.
Wow.
I was then sure not to let her out of my sight until the care team ran through the new baby tests and procedures. We were excited to show her off just 3 days later on Christmas Day at Grandpa Flood's apartment with Mom and uncles. Best Christmas present ever.
Aww.
We struggled to raise that first baby like all new parents. I especially remember 2 of my worst moments being a bad dad. Once after driving Kaylin around in my car to get her to stop crying, she had finally fallen asleep in her car seat. I've decided to leave her in the car, crack the windows, and lock the doors.
Oh, jeez.
San Diego weather was mild. I just wanted to ride my bike a couple blocks to the local 7-Eleven and get a Big Gulp. When I got back, my neighbors were standing around the car, and sure enough, not only had KK woken up, but she tipped over the car seat, and no one could help her since the doors were locked. They just looked at me. The other occasion I deeply regret was taking her to a soccer practice and then losing patience when she cried so hard I had to quit the practice and take her home. Walking to the car, I spanked her diapered little butt so hard she came off the ground. Difficult for people not to notice that. The only thing she did wrong was worry if I was okay crashing around with those other guys on the soccer pitch. In return, I probably yelled at her. At least she grew up tough.
Poor baby.
Catherine believed her relationship with her sister Debbie would have been better if they had not been so close in age, and wanted to wait more than 3 years before having another baby. Maybe she was just giving me time to grow up, but Kellyanne came along and showed us we still knew little about raising children. In 1986, Catherine's friend Bobby was staying with us for Memorial Day weekend. That Sunday morning, we were woken around 6 a.m. by Catherine screaming from the bathroom. Bobby and I both rushed out of our rooms naked to find Catherine draped over the bathtub crying out in pain. After gathering our composure and clothes, we decided to get her to the hospital as fast as possible. It was less than 5 minutes away, so Catherine and I jumped into our Ford F-100 while Bobby stayed with Kayla. My recollection is that Catherine could not sit on the front seat, but instead kneeled on her arms and legs while I carefully but quickly drove to the hospital. Contractions were coming hard and fast, so on arrival I told her I would get inside and start the admittance process while she dealt with the next contraction. As I was explaining our situation and getting the necessary paperwork, we could hear her screaming outside. I excused myself and ran outside to see what was wrong. "She's coming!" And sure enough, I opened the passenger side door and could see a little head crowning through her panties as she knelt doggy style at that front seat. I pulled down her panties and plop.
Kelly.
Out squirted Kelly, making her grand entrance into this world. I held her in my hands for a moment and then wrapped her up in my long sleeve t-shirt, like this one,
Snot.
ignoring the slime that covered her.
Oh.
The hospital team showed up moments later with a wheelchair and scissors. We snipped the cord, put Catherine in the wheelchair, and walked into the hospital, baby in my arms. I like to joke it was the perfect delivery. With the placenta coming out, once inside, there was no mess in my truck to clean up, just a slimy t-shirt. The care team had an odd sense of humor, and they put Catherine in a room with 3 other women that did not have easy deliveries. They stared and mumbled amongst themselves as she called her friends and family, describing how surprised and quickly her baby was delivered. Mother and baby. were able to come home the same day,
Nice.
and we continued our Memorial Day weekend celebration with little Kellyanne, the star,
Aw.
in the party, star of the party, and I got to be Dr. Judd for a day.
Wow.
While Kellyanne surprises coming a couple weeks early, Dakota really surprises coming a couple months early. Maybe it was 5 weeks, but we had no idea that Yvette was ready to have her baby. So when we got to the hospital and found out that this was not a false alert, that we were truly going to be delivering this child by C-section, I had my first experience watching an operation to take the baby out of the tummy.
Aw.
So
I could not
I've
watch
seen it
that.
all, yes.
How was it? How was your reaction?
I got to stand behind her head, and they had a curtain up. How'd that work? They didn't have a curtain up because I could see each cut. So you couldn't see. I guess they had a curtain between you and your belly,
So
but I
she
could see.
couldn't see.
I could see over the curtain, and I watched them
Ugh.
slice her skin,
Ugh.
the next layer,
I wouldn't want to
the
watch.
muscle. They
Ew.
reach in, they take her guts out and set them on her belly.
Ugh.
Then they reach in again, they find the baby and they bring it out.
Ew.
Yeah,
Wow,
it was
my
amazing.
entrance was just.
So I was fine until it was
Ew.
all over, and my knees felt a little weak and I looked a little
Ugh.
pale. But I was there holding your hand, Yvette's hand, and was got to see it delivered in all its glory. So that was an experience.
That was a preemie, right?
Yes, you were at least 5 or 6 weeks premature. So
How
you were a
much?
tiny little. Remember, you were not as big as my hand. Your
That's
head
insane.
to
4.5
foot.
pounds.
That's insane. I'm
Yeah.
still tiny.
Yeah.
How long was I in the
you grow
hospital
fast.
for?
You were in the preemie. What do they call that?
NICU.
Yeah,
NICU.
Nikki?
NICU.
Yeah, NICU. At least 3 weeks.
No,
Did y'all miss
we-
me?
No, it was like
We were
10
there every day.
Oh.
We didn't miss you at
No,
all.
it was like
Wow.
10 days because they let me stay there. It was like 10 days.
At least. So yeah, you made a pretty good entrance as well. So
How do you think being a dad changed your perspective on life?
it's a whole lot of responsibility.
Yeah.
Not just setting an example for the kids, but setting an example for other parents and their kids. I mean, suddenly you're thrown out there with other young families, shared experiences, school, athletics. Each of my girls got to play soccer,
Yeah.
for better or for worse. I got to coach everyone.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. I was very active in the AYSO in Redlands, where Kaylin played, and Kelly played there as well. Then we moved to Texas. Kaylin played for the Georgetown Soccer Association for a year, I think, just a year. She struggled with asthma, and we didn't realize that the way to take care of that is to get ahead of it. So unfortunately, I told her not to use an inhaler until she needed to, and that was the wrong advice. We didn't know about allergies. We thought we left California. We're getting away from all that LA smog. We found that pollen and allergies in Texas were much worse than smog ever was in California.
I know, the pollen here was terrible.
Yeah,
Jesus.
it's much harder to deal with. I mean, in LA, you knew if it was smoggy, you didn't exercise. You just didn't go out and breathe the air. But Texas, you don't know. When it's nice out, it's the worst time sometimes. Kellyanne did join the high school soccer team her freshman year, but she only stayed on that team long enough to suffer all the conditioning and not have the fun of playing. So that was unfortunate.
Yeah.
Kaylin was really a good little soccer player. She was not big or strong. She was kind of small, but she was so calm under pressure. I'd like to put her right in the middle of the soccer field as a center halfback because I knew that she would get the ball and find the right person to pass it to. The big person that could kick it way down the field.
Yeah.
So she didn't have to be big. She had to be smart, and she always was. Kelly was more of the chasing butterflies type. She didn't really have the focus. I think she enjoyed it, but she was more of the. It seemed like every soccer team I've coached always has that one kid that's kind of ADHD or whatever, ADD, and
Kelly was the kid.
she may have been the one. But yeah, it's sometimes they're more of a distraction, but it's still good for the kids to be out there. They all get along. So no, I really enjoyed the soccer part I talked about was adult soccer. I also got, like I said, I coached a women's team when I was a young 20-something, which was just really flirting with the girls, but you know, tried to help.
Sure.
But then as an adult, youth soccer was really good, especially with UCOTA. Got pretty involved in the Pflugerville League.
You stayed involved too, even when I left.
Yeah, because it was a good activity for me. I enjoyed being around the people that were around the kids. So that's good. You know, and we always like to say that the worst part of coaching a soccer team is the parents. You know, the kids are great.
Really?
The parents are a pain in the backside.
Oh my
Yes.
gosh, they're terrible.
I wasn't there. Like, I don't remember any of that.
No, and you wouldn't know.
Yeah.
Well, you did. You know when you played the championship, 5th grade, how the parents were so on you guys about doing everything just right. And
I remember Angie's dad used to.
especially right. Yeah.
She was really upset about that. Remember Angie?
Yeah, she hated when her father was always telling her what to do. He was right, but he just, again, coaching at the sidelines is takes the fun out of it.
No, Angie, remember she was one of my close friends back in like elementary school.
Can't remember his name. He had a gym over here by HEB for a while.
Mom doesn't remember. Let's talk about the grandkids. How is it?
Well, that's where I was going to go next with this.
Okay.
So while watching the births of my 3 girls was amazing, the other thing that is amazing is watching how my girls have grown up. Kellyanne, the timing of her turning 18 was unfortunate. I left the house. She may have been 19. I think she had just turned 19 or turned shortly after that year. And I really didn't know what she was up to. I had no idea that she wanted to be on MTV's Real World. That was a shock to me when she told me that she had the opportunity to do it.
Little superstar.
She had done an amazing audition tape that I had not seen or wasn't aware of until later. The first thing I saw was the contract that she wanted me to look over that they were asking her to sign, and I saw this contract. I said, Kelly, I'd be more comfortable going in the military than signing this contract. We're giving them the rights to basically control your life forever after. And fortunately, it's turned out well. They've taken good care of her. But at the time, she was looking to go film a show in Australia. And the conditions of the contract was if something went wrong, they weren't even responsible for getting her home. And I didn't know how I was going to be able to fly to Australia with my new baby here and get her if that's what it took. They basically said that they could use anything that they film any way they want forever after. They didn't have to guarantee any kind of medical care or whatever. So I was very concerned when she took that role, but it sure has been exciting to watch her grow all these years doing the various challenges and TV shows. And
very strong.
It's been amazing. She's lived a more amazing life than I ever hoped to live already. So yay for her.
Traveling and
seeing her rescue work.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the rescuing stuff is pretty great.
And then Kaylin, I like to talk about the joy of watching my daughter raise her daughters. My favorite story is to go to a young birthday party and drink a beer with my father-in-law, Carl, while we watch our kids do all the hard work. Meal over the barbecue, Kaylin organizing the games.
Is it satisfying?
It's amazing. Carl, you get to the beer? Yeah.
Yeah. We just gotta sit here.
Remember that when that was us on the barbecue and organizing the activities? Yeah. Now we're just guests. We get to watch. It's really amazing. And now I got a granddaughter that's a teenager driving. It's just it goes so fast.
Yeah.
And Dakota, 18, and
I literally just turned.
Now you're at that point where Kellyanne was. Your life's ahead of you. You have so many opportunities. You just have to figure out what it is you want to do, and you'll be amazing. I'm lucky to have a lot of beautiful women in my life. Any other questions?
How is it watching Kaylin give birth in like the first beginning stages?
I didn't really get as involved with Kaylin giving birth as my girls. I think I was more in the waiting room, waiting to hear what happened.
Yeah. Well, how was it like meeting like the first, you know, when like Audrey was born? How was like the experience for you?
It was mind blowing. You know, it's like first grandbaby, and then second grandbaby, and another,
third and fourth.
yeah, another one.
How long was Kylan mad at Neil when she got pregnant with Lila?
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
She was mad at Neil.
I remember it was just a big shock. Like Lila's was a shock.
Well, they had planned to hold out for, you know, have one more child and wanted to have a boy. And then
Never
Lila came
happened.
along sooner than expected.
Yeah.
So they took care of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one part I didn't mention. When we had your cesarean, we also had mom's tubes tied, as they call it, and that was a nice sensation. They actually go in there and they tie some thread around the ends of the tubes, and they singe the ends.
I could smell my flesh burning.
Yeah,
Ew.
yeah, that was interesting.
Oh, it's disgusting. I didn't.
It's like Auschwitz or something.
So, but at least we knew it was done right. We got to watch him do that.
Oh, what is like some of the lessons you've learned now that you're this old and historic?
This young.
What do you think you've learned over the years
Yeah.
as you got older?
You know, what's been really tough for me is trying to put in writing my thoughts in my young days. I'm impressed with how active I was. What I wanted to kind of point out to you and anybody else is that there was no easy days when I was young. I was always working, going to school, two jobs, doing other activities, soccer, sailing. Even though I was living at the beach, you know, I was getting my scuba certification, got my real estate license.
I didn't know you got your real estate.
You know, I sold a condominium, and to close the deal, I had to paint that condominium. But you know, that's what you do sometimes when you want to be successful.
Yeah.
But I got out of real estate because it interfered with soccer. You know,
Priorities.
I didn't want to do open houses and showing houses on the weekends when I was supposed to play games.
Yeah.
You know.
So what would you tell your young self?
Oh yeah, what would you tell your younger self?
Oh gosh.
You can pick whatever age.
Huh.
Like your 18-year-old self.
Yeah, what would you tell your 18-year-old self about?
You know, I was 18. That's such a rough age. You're still there's the whole world's just opened up to you. Just got out of high school. You don't, you know, just getting your own apartment and figuring out how to make ends meet and having to work and do things for a living.
Yeah.
I wouldn't try and tell myself anything other than, you know, enjoy the experience.
Yeah.
I still remember that sensation of the sensation of going to San Diego the first time to see where we might live and just taking in the college scene. Yeah.
We drove by my apartment. I was like Reagan said it was a possibility, but like just picturing my life there.
Yeah.
Was just insane. It was such a weird, surreal feeling.
For me, it was going to see the San Diego State campus and all the, you know, little pizza places around it and stuff. Like, you know, I'm gonna like living here.
Yeah, like this is a whole new life. It's a whole new world.
Yeah, and we were lucky. We were the first ones to move into this apartment. So it was a brand new apartment.
Wow. Not mine.
Walking distance from the college,
cool.
not too far from where I had to go.
Yeah.
So that was all exciting, whatever. And I don't think I'd say anything to myself then. Where I could really have helped myself is if I could tell my entrepreneurial self to find the right people to work with. I think I had the same problem my father had. I wasn't good at billing. I liked to do the work. I liked to do the analysis. I loved researching stuff and finding out what's coming down the pike, what's the next hot thing. But I didn't cash in. I didn't find a way to make it big. I didn't make big dollars like Bill Gates or even close to that.
Definitely not Bill Gates. Definitely not him.
It's a different approach they took. I mean, they were all cutthroat about doing business, and I wasn't. I would stay up all night. You know, I pulled plenty of all-nighters finishing projects and doing code and all that good stuff. But I didn't find a way to really cash in. Yeah. I learned over the years, and this is something I'd like to tell anybody that listens to me now, is that there are windows of opportunity. You see something, you see an opportunity, and if you don't move on it, it's too late. Someone else moves in, things change, it's gone. One of my successes, near wins, was I created a payroll system. I found a way to you get the right font in a laser printer, and there's a magnetic ink cartridge, and you could print the magnetic code on the bottom of the check that you need for that check to go through the bank.
Yeah.
My clients were small business accountants that were doing payrolls for their customers. They had boxes of checks in the back warehouse, and my program allowed them to buy one box of checks that were basically blank checks, and we could print checks for each different client with one program. Saved them tons of money, and I wish I could have moved quicker on that window of opportunity and sold more of that.
Yeah.
That was a good creation that almost worked for me. I had an angel investor, Wes Breyer. He was the one that really kind of helped me. I got an Alpha Micro dealership, so I was authorized to sell these multi-user computers back in the day. And when I struggled to make ends meet, which is right at the same time Kellyanne was born, seriously, the week after she was born, we moved to Redlands. And that was so I could work out of Wes Breyer's offices and pay back some of the money I owed him, cut down my overhead. And he gave me the opportunity to do some different things like sell payroll systems. I mean, one of his products, which I was doing the software for, was payroll. But I really wasn't very good about knocking on doors and selling that payroll service. I wish I could have focused on that and maybe built that business, you know, if I had a chance. And that was another one of those windows that I just didn't cash in on. So yeah, if you see a window of opportunity, if you think you have an idea for that app that's going to be the next big thing, yeah, do it.
What have been your favorite things about life?
What?
Yeah, like what are your favorite things about life? Like,
you know, I mentioned that playing soccer with the same guys week after week really was huge for me. I don't think I've played now since 2011 or 12. I was trying to think how long it's been since I was on a team. And I still fantasize about playing soccer even though I'm an old man.
you still can. There's probably an old man club.
No, there is. There's old man soccer, and I always joked I would never do that because it's awful.
It's kind of.
Well,
well, you'd be good at it.
I have a standing invitation to play with a team.
You should do it.
Well,
you're retired.
The problem is they don't practice.
Oh, you gotta practice.
Well, I just felt like I'd like to find a team that still gets together at least once a week to practice and not just show up at game time on Sunday.
Create relationships and all that.
Yeah. So I've set a goal. If I can run 2 miles without walking, then I will consider trying out for soccer.
I can't even do that.
Well, you probably could.
If I tried, yeah.
You could, because when I used to go out and run with you, the few times we did that, you had no problem running ahead of me. You just sprinted around that track
I just
easily.
wanted to beat you.
Yeah, well, it was hard for me then. It's harder for me now. I've got to now where I can jog walk pretty good, but I'm not quite there.
Yeah, you'll get there.
But if I really apply myself, I could get there and play some soccer this summer, and maybe before I turn 70, kick that soccer ball one more time in a real game. It's possible.
So many scary age. Jeez. I'm trying to think of.
So yeah, you asked, highlights of my life. Really, getting involved with church. One of my favorite parts, and the times we did that, both in California and Texas, was the small groups. Again, getting together with the same people week after week, and just sharing your life. Typically there's some connection with these small groups, like young parents or old people, or whatever
old
it is.
People.
Yeah, whichever it is. I mean, old and wise, they're interesting too. But just sharing that intimacy with people, I think, is a highlight. So that's something I am not doing very well right now, and trying to figure out how to fix that.
Yeah. What have been your favorite places around the world to visit?
I think I mentioned that I really loved our Lake Powell vacations when I was a kid. My father had a philosophy that 2 weeks is not enough time for vacation, because you need a week just to forget about work. And then you need a week or two to enjoy yourself and then go back to work. So we did do some 3-week vacations where we took the boat out to that
You
lake
should
and
do that.
camped up and down. It's hard. It's really hard to have that much time off.
Not for you anymore.
Well, it is still.
Say it easy.
Yes.
Oh yeah, that's true.
There's life responsibilities that don't go away.
No.
I did want to say that I always like the places I've picked to live. Growing up in Palos Verdes was a great experience. Living on the beach in San Diego, you can't beat that. I liked Birdland when we moved back, and Catherine didn't want to live at the beach. And I understood that because you give up something to be at the beach. It's not a good lifestyle for a family. But Birdland was good. Even in Redlands, the apartment that we moved into the first time was really cool. It was a good setup we had, again, lots of young families, raising children, lots of pools. We spent a lot of time just hanging out in the pool, going to neighbors, hanging out with them. Young families, young people. It was really nice. Redlands. We lived in 5 places in Redlands. So we moved about every 10 years. I thought that was interesting about my life. It seems like if I look back at my life, I can do it. It goes by decades. The first decade was New York, California, New York, Australia, and then we landed in Palos Verdes. And that was the second decade till about 74. So I was 19 when I went to San Diego. And then there were 10 years in San Diego with a brief 2-year stint back up in LA, Orange County, Huntington Beach, Irvine, stayed with my mother in Lomita. But then back to San Diego until Kellyanne was born in 86. So again, another one of these on the 5 mark. We moved to Redlands. And then we moved to Texas in 96. So 10 years in Redlands. And now Texas, I've actually been here for more than 10 years or whatever.
Yeah.
So, yeah, been here for 20, almost 30 now. I'll be coming up on 30. Yeah. So I can look at my life in decades and say this is a chapter, this is a chapter, this is a chapter.
Yeah.
So that's kind of interesting.
Well, what are your favorite things about Kelly since this is her birthday video? What are your favorite things about her?
I am constantly impressed with how she manages to be successful with what she's got. Much like me, she struggles with names, maybe even more so than me.
I struggle more than all of y'all with names.
Maybe, but
maybe I can't remember anyone's name. I didn't know y'all were the same way.
Yeah, really?
I had no idea y'all didn't know people's names. My friends all joke about it all the time.
Back to when I was coaching Kaylin's soccer in Redlands. Back in the day, we didn't think about young kids having fewer than 11 people on a soccer team, soccer field. So we had full-size teams. So I was coaching like 16 or 18 kids. And when the parents came to pick up the kids, I couldn't tell you what parent went with what kid. Kaylin knew. So I would always lean on Kaylin and say, who's her mom? Whose kid is that? And she knew. And all her life, I've depended on Kaylin to help me with that kind of thing. It's really nice. When Kellyanne will tell you a story about someone she met on a plane, she'll describe them by what movie they were in, or she can't remember Steve Martin's name, but she can tell you, he's the guy that's was funny, but he's not really that funny in person, and
not funny in person.
Yeah, it's like, but she's met so many famous people, and yet she's not a name dropper. She can't always tell you who it was, but she knows so many people. It's just incredible.
She has good connections.
And she's got an amazing personality.
Oh,
she is not afraid. I think Uncle Mike runs in the family. You could say he's a flirt, but I prefer just very outgoing. And your mother, Yvette's the same way. You're not afraid to talk to somebody. I mean, don't have to be shy. You just, you know, just talk to them.
My coworkers say I can make friends with anyone. I met like these famous TikTokers in LA that I like, and my friends were like, "Oh, are those your friends?" I was like, "No, they're famous people," and they're like, "We thought those were your friends." I was like, "People love me."
There you go. So
Yeah,
I think
Kelly's
that's a real
really good at
attribute.
it too.
Kellyanne's amazing.
She has the best laugh. Kelly is the best
Kelly's
laugh.
got the best giggle for
Yeah,
sure.
my favorite laugh.
It's famous.
Famous Kelly giggle. Yeah,
She's
Kelly's.
got a very tender heart with her.
Oh yeah, biggest heart.
Absolutely, yes. You know what I love about Kellyanne is she's a snuggle bunny.
She is.
She loves to cuddle.
Yeah.
When she left me with her dogs while she and Max took their European vacation, I even though I didn't really like a dog crawling into bed with me, I had to admit that Rosie reminded me of Kelly because she would
Aw.
just get up there and snuggle right up next to you and want to be there. So I said I could see myself taking Rosie home just because she reminds me so much of Kellyanne.
So did Kellyanne still sleep with y'all when she was 15?
She did. She would sneak into our room and crawl into bed.
Aww.
Yeah, she was always always wanted to be close,
Aww.
and she still gives the best hugs.
Oh yeah, Kelly's the best hugger out there.
Yeah, both of my girls are extremely generous with gifts. I guess Kaylin tells me that's a love language, something like that.
All of us are.
Caitlin has used that to her advantage professionally. I think I've seen many of her postings when it has a closing, whatever. She has a gift for the people that bought the house, and and always a thoughtful, clever kind of gift. So yeah, all my family have done really well with thinking about gifts and being considerate.
Yeah.
It's one thing just to hand someone a gift card, but another when you actually create a calendar with all the pictures and dates that are so special. So yeah. Can we stop now? Love you, Cal.
Love you, Kelly. Happy birthday. We love you so much. You're gonna do great on the new challenge. Bye.